Gemini. I haven't done a weekly reading yet, so I decided to do one so I could introduce the astrology dice. Now, I pulled 3 cards, and they're not in any particular order like past, present, and future. And the 3 astrology dice are in front of the cards. The black one on the left represents zodiac signs. The one in the center represents planets and lunar nodes. And the one on the right represents houses. Now you can consider these like a game, personality, plot, and place. Like the clue game, Colonel Mustard with the knife in the kitchen. Now the cards you received is the World, the Two of Cups, and the Lover's card. Wow, I mean, just in case you missed it, this is about love and relationships and emotions. The Two of Cups is just the minor arcana version of the Lover's card, and now this kind of boosts it up another octave with having these 2 cards together. Now the Lover's card and the Two of Cups is about decision making. And for the Two of Cups, the number 2 does mean decision, partnership, and balance. And we all want partnership and balance mixed together. But you have to make a good decision to have this partnership and balance. And there's always that omnipresent idea of temptation. You know, we talk about morals and values, but you have to back up a little bit and think about ethics. You have to have ethics before you have morals, and you have to have morals before you acquire values. And this comes in to what you've learned in the past and what your beliefs are now for you to make decisions in the future. And there is a duality going on here because there's grace versus temptation. But then you think about it too, and we've got the senses, and it's the unconscious versus the conscious, the physical versus the spiritual. This is also vice versus virtue. You know, there's even a divine and earthly component involved in this, and you have to make a lot of choices. And it's kind of funny that it's about impulsive desires, and then you have to make these level-headed choices. How does this work? Well, in reality, it really doesn't a lot of the time. You know, even Adam and Eve lost the value of God's word and were exiled from the Garden of Eden. And there was no return from that. Once you've lost your virginity, once you've lost your values, morals, and ethics, sometimes it's hard to regain yourself. You know, the devil didn't make us do anything. You have to be careful of our free will and choices that we have, because you can't ever underestimate the value of choice over impulse and instinctive impulsive desires. You know, we humans like to think that we're above the lower animals, but we forget that we are actually still animals from the mammal family. It really is hard to believe how many things are involved in just falling in love. But really the underlying story of all of this is understanding, respect, and harmony. Now here there's a constant duality going on here. And the Two of Cups is a little weaker card than the Lover's card is a major arcana card. And one says that it's less mature and maybe the relationship is not stable in the test of time. So here too is a duality where there's a weaker link in a relationship versus a stronger link in a relationship, and which one do you have? Now the World card ties this all up because it's a card about completion, completing a cycle. It was a long road traveled. And you can even think of this as a journey by God's design. But here you're planting new seeds for your unconscious and conscious self to balance your mind, body, and spirit. You're balancing your positive and negative forces. For you to be able to love somebody else, you have to love yourself. And it's saying you became well-rounded in this love, emotion, relationship triangle that's going on here. Or else you became a chameleon and you were able to match yourself with the surroundings to make yourself successful. Whatever it is, the world card is saying you're coming to the end of a journey, and it symbolizes that you've developed, fulfilled, achieved, and completed. And now that lessons have been learned, it's time to move on to new challenges. Now Saturn oversees the world card, and the word Saturn means to sow. So it represents the harvest of life. Now I tossed the dice, and you received Pisces, the North Node, and the 5th house. The North and South lunar nodes are mathematical points that take into account the relationships between the Sun, Moon, and the Earth. The North Node of the Moon can loosely be interpreted as a purpose or destiny of your life. And all eclipses occur near the lunar nodes, where the Moon's path crosses the Sun's path in the sky. And just as in a side piece of information, right now the North Node has just gone into Leo. Now the North Node in the 5th house indicates that you're melting into the backdrop as to not draw attention to yourself. But when you do that, you lose your personal, unique identity. And you just become another face in the crowd. You can easily detach yourself and try to avoid risk-taking and stay in the safe zone. And you really worry about what other people think, but it's about time for you to say the hell with what other people think. And you have to strike out on your own to find your own life path. You're looking for an inner balance and happiness that's attained through self-confidence. You know, sometimes you can be anal retentive and criticize too much and ignore the delight of living. You're saying, oh, that's real bad, and saying, wow, did you see that sunset? You know, and your critiques flow to yourself, and you start doing some self-flagellation, self-punishment. And this is because of the North Node in the 5th house. You have to start becoming more flexible, like a small palm tree in the wind. Because as you get older, these beliefs of yours and criticism can actually break things up. And if you're like the palm tree, as it grows older, it doesn't break, it just bends. And now it's time to just start being yourself and not worrying about what other people think. If they don't like it, you know what they can do with it. Now, Pisces in the 5th house puts you in dreamland. And you need to get in touch with reality. Hello, Earth. You know, ground control to Major Tom. You might not be able to put your finger on what attracts you to a certain person. But it doesn't really matter in the scheme of things, does it? But this Pisces in the 5th house thing is saying to take your rose-colored glasses off, because one morning you might wake up next to Genghis Khan, or even worse, that little twerp Napoleon. Or even Rasputin. And then for the guys, it could be Lilith or some soulless human Barbie. So make sure whatever choices you make in love and relationships, in the end, doesn't cast you into disappointment. And you know, having the 2 of Cups and the Lover's card is like taking a gradual step. The 2 of Cups is the baby steps. And the Lover's card is then more like going to graduate school. And it means that you should have self-awareness. Self-awareness of your strengths and weaknesses, of your thoughts and beliefs, and of your motives and emotions. Here we are, we're back to duality again. And there's one more lesson of duality, and that's yin and yang. You know, there's always a seed of good and bad, and a seed of bad and good. And you have to find a balance between that with your love and emotions. And I wish you acceptance, peace, and happiness.